is this defendant. If you've been able to confirm that independently, yes, I can confirm that that is true.
So is it fair to say that if he spent those 3 years in prison, none of this would have happened?
I think it's fair to say this, that that charge was for DWI. In DWIs, this man was treated the way the vast majority of DWI cases are treated.
According to the probable cause statement, 31-year-old Clifford Miller admitted very graphic details. He told authorities he was high on meth when he entered Brittany's house early Friday morning to have sex with her. The two had no previous relationship. Her half-sister Ashley was asleep in the living room and woke up. She challenged Miller. The two struggled before he punched and beat her with an unidentified object. Eventually, he smothered her with a pillow.
He knew that he needed to hide and he needed money, so he contacted a friend in the Platte County area and attempted to have that person sell the guns for him.
Authorities eventually found his pickup in Trimble before arresting him at his girlfriend's house in Parkville. That's when Miller confessed, and the sisters' bodies were found late Sunday night. As with any tragedy, Ashley and Brittany's family is forced to move forward. Now they have the task of raising 3 children without their mothers.
And our duty is to make sure that the 3 granddaughters left behind are very aware of how special their mothers were.
The yeas are 257. The nays are 167. The motion is adopted.
Happy New Year! Our paychecks are getting smaller. While a deal was passed in D.C., we will still feel the effects. The 2-year-old payroll tax holiday is over, with the rate jumping 2%. To break it down, if you're making $30,000 a year, you will pay about $50 more a month in taxes. If you're earning $50,000 a year, you'll contribute $83 more a month. And if you make $113,700 a year, you will pay an extra $189.50 a month. The payroll tax funds Social Security. The lower rate was costing the government $120 billion in revenue a year. This deal came with a political price. News Press columnist Ken Newton.
Mainly the political fallout is going to be that 151 members of the House of Representatives voted against this bill, against their own speaker.
It was the first time in 20 years Republicans voted for any tax increase, but 8 representatives did not. In fact, one was not even there. A spokesman for Congressman Sam Graves' office said he was detained and could not make it to the meeting. His staff did not return our requests for an interview with Graves. When asked what the congressman was detained by, spokesman Jason Clint said he didn't know.
It could be there's a rational explanation, but he voted on a bill about roughly an hour before the major bill came up, and 420-something other representatives got there and voted. So we're waiting for an explanation.
And the grimmest part? The deal passed New Year's night added $4 trillion to the national debt, hitting the debt ceiling. But the government only has a few weeks to figure out what's next. Greg Miller, Fox 26, KNPN.
Okay, so this is a Parrot AR drone.
Remote-controlled helicopters meet the 21st century.
More of like a toy hobbyist version of what government and law enforcement and others are using, but it's not a whole lot different.
But don't let the hobbyist version fool you. This device is equipped with radar to detect height above ground, LED lights on the sides to detect direction, and can operate for 6 to 10 minutes on battery charges. Bigger versions have batteries that can last hours. The small aircraft, encased in styrofoam to protect sensitive technology, features some of the latest technology in surveillance. Being that tech nut, it's something he had to buy.
It's not something that we were planning on using in any real sort of capacity, but we have actually done a little bit of like looking at ventilation systems and that kind of stuff with it, just because all of a sudden we thought, well, how are we going to get 30 feet up there? Hey, I've got this toy at home. So we have actually put it to use a couple of times.
The device's camera transmits live streaming video, allowing for a real-time bird's eye view. The video streamed from the drone can easily be recorded at the same time.
As well as the camera that's on the front of it. And as we rotate and move it, it'll just track with it.
Personal drones can fly several hundred feet up into the air. They have standard definition and full HD cameras depending on the product you buy. They've attracted the attention of hobbyists, but also the attention of lawmakers. The concern is that putting this technology in the wrong hands could turn an eye into a spy. Bigger versions can even allow pre-programmed flight plans with GPS. House Bill 48 was introduced in January. It would establish something called Preserving Freedom from Unwarranted Surveillance Act. State Representative Casey Guernsey filed the bill, which would prohibit unmanned aircraft from cruising over ranches and farms, gathering information without a warrant. The act does not prohibit the use of drones by law enforcement if, quote, swift action to prevent imminent danger to life is necessary.
And we've built a consumer product. We haven't built a commercial product. The maximum operating distance is less than 200 feet, and it's very much designed for consumer and hobby use.
The FAA governs personal consumer drones the same way it does with model planes. They must be kept below 400 feet, in line of sight, and away from airports. The FAA does not, however, have the resources to enforce the privacy of neighbors. Overhead airspace is generally considered open to the public. The legal dilemma is something Murphy understands. He doesn't use it for spying, and he admits some kind of regulation may be best for everyone.
If we're taking off, the airport is, just a mile up the road. If somebody's taking off there and they're using a helicopter here to look at football practice so that the football team can figure out how to better their game, those two vehicles in the same airspace in an area that's not controlled by a tower or anything else, there is no way to know what would happen there.
A special permit is not required, and anyone can buy these aircrafts. And the word is spreading among technology lovers.
I believe that we are, the style of item that people are generally concerned about at that level, and with a maximum distance or operating distance of less than 200 feet, you can only do so much with the product.
Peter George works for Parrot, a company which is at the forefront of the personal drone market. The company has grown tremendously in just the last few years. Since 2011, the market for drones has exploded because the technology is so much cheaper now. He admits they're watching those proceedings on the state and federal level closely.
Market 2.5 years, as I said, we've sold hundreds of thousands of this product, and our sales today are as good as they've ever been. The majority of our sales, the number one country for us in this product is the US.
He says the specifications of the Parrot drones are nowhere near as technical to pose an immediate threat to privacy. But as technology evolves, could that change?
And it's impossible to keep ahead of that guy. So there has to be some kind of legislation that, one, keeps it safe for everybody, and two, keeps people from using it for nefarious purposes.
Life insurance policies are typically taken out by family members to cover loved ones when they die, but a number of businesses are also doing it without the knowledge of the beneficiaries. In a Fox 26 investigation, we talked to the attorney who uncovered these companies and the utility who's being accused of implementing dead peasant insurance policies. Life insurance. You take it out on a loved one as a financial safety net when they die. Pretty straightforward, right? No, says Mike Myers, a Houston attorney who first noticed dead peasant insurance policies 20 years ago. A convenience store employee was killed in a car wreck going to get change. He represented the family in a wrongful death suit.
During the discovery, we learned that the convenience store that employed him had a $250,000 policy on his life.
Dead Peasant Insurance gets its name from Winn-Dixie Stores. That company bought life insurance policies on 36,000 employees, but those employees never knew. The company then listed itself as a beneficiary. The insurance brokerage firm that placed the policies prepared 2 memos describing the deceased employees as dead peasants. Those memos were then part of a court's record in a lawsuit. Eventually, a U.S. Court of Appeals upheld that the company's policies were illegal, setting that precedent. But Myers discovered they're still being used, and he has been investigating these cases for 2 decades.
It was new to us at that time. That was several years ago. I'd never seen anything like it because it's not, and it was unusual because it's not really insurance like you would expect a company to have. This was a rank and file employee. He was I'm sure he was a good worker for them, but he was not a key executive.
He admits he wasn't sure what to think when he first noticed them.
When I saw the magnitude of the large companies, the type of insurance was, first of all, skepticism, like it couldn't be right. But then as the documents and the other details started to fall into place, pretty soon it became evident that this was a very widespread investment made by a lot of large companies in the United States.
Dead Peasant Insurance was also the focus of the Michael Moore documentary, Capitalism, a love story. In the movie, investigators found a Walmart employee had a policy worth thousands taken out on them, and they didn't even know.
And as it turned out, Walmart took out over 350,000 life insurance policies on rank and file associates. These weren't executives. These were people like my wife, a cake decorator for 18 months. That's the type of people they were taking insurance policies out on.
In 2009, the Wall Street Journal reported the bosses of a music store cashier had cashed in $300,000 when he died. In this system, which Myers and others call a tax scheme, companies will take out policies on hundreds of thousands of employees and then claim it as a tax write-off.
We do know that a lot of large financial institutions, big national banks, continue to buy this investment in very large quantities for very big dollar amounts. And we also know that the product is out there available for sale. So because the supply is available, it leads me to believe the demand is also there.
So we contacted labor unions, insurance commissions, other attorneys, and U.S. senators. They or their representatives told us they had never heard of this before. But Myers has published a list on his website of over 100 companies he's discovered have dead peasant insurance policies out on their employees. He too lists massive conglomerate shopping centers like Walmart, along with major financial institutions including Wells Fargo, media companies and other telecom industries like AT&T, and utility companies, including KCP&L. The utility flatly denied having these policies out on their employees. A spokesperson told us, quote, "We don't have any insurance like that at KCP&L." While the practice is illegal, Myers says the chances of seeing any reform are slim.
You have to know that you have something to do something about. And in this situation, that's rare because the employees often are not given information about the coverage on their lives. Sometimes they're given absolutely none, and sometimes they're given such cryptic information that they can't really piece it together.
And since it's not public information, he insists these companies are illegally writing off income in their tax reports, all based on your life. Now, corporations who are convicted of these practices have paid millions to the beneficiaries they listed, but again, the problem is that these insurance policies are not public information, so they're often difficult to prove in court.